Good morning again, everyone, and welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. Coming to you live from awesomely humid Florida. I don't know if that looks like a rain cloud or not, but yeah, ever since Elsa came through and she just let it go, like, it's been pretty hot and humid. Yeah, that was a Frozen joke for you other parents of young girls out there. Anyways, we're working on Mullet today, putting the rear end and transmission back in. I'm also going to work on the parachute mount that got cracked, and I'm gonna paint it because we put this on kind of last minute and it never got painted. So we're gonna sand this up and paint it. And the crack is right there. Can you see it? Yeah, crack is right there. So we're gonna weld around that. So I'll do a little bit of extra gusseting back there. Hopefully fix that problem from happening. So Cletus's race week trailer, it's not the lightest trailer with all the extra gear he brings in it, and just that thing working on the parachute mount back there, it's cracked it. So we're gonna fix it, try to make it better to where it won't crack again. I'm gonna jump in and get started and bring you guys along for the ride. So before I get too involved in working on the car, just wanted to say thanks to everybody for buying from winwithksr.com, our merch site. And you guys have been keeping us busy with merchandise orders. And for those of you that don't know, winwithksr.com, we've got some of our shop shirts on there. We've got Soccer Mom shirts and a few other little things here and there. We just got some lanyards in, some Win with KSR lanyards, as well as the Everything Needs a Turbo shirt. And we're working on a couple of new shirts that hopefully will have some information back, some artwork back, maybe next week. Hopefully that all happens. But just, it's awesome that you guys buy stuff and support the channel, not only by watching the videos and commenting and liking. And I know Mullet's kind of our big hit videos just because you guys all love Mullet. So we've got other projects in the shop that we plan on doing as well. Appreciate it if you guys follow along with that stuff too. But we try to bring the same detail to every build that we do so that, you know, it's the same quality of work. It's just a different platform, a different canvas, shall we say, for the different cars that we work on, different projects. So now that I've said all that, please like and subscribe to the channel if you like what we're doing. Check your subscription because I do still get the occasional message that people are being unsubscribed, and I kind of, you know, play the odds that if one person sends me a message, there's probably a few more that got unsubscribed and they don't know about it yet. So I'm going to do a time lapse of putting the rear end back in, and then I'm going to show you guys kind of what we achieved by playing with the control arm angles without them. Before I hook the shocks back up, we will set the rear end at the height that I measured it at ride height. I'll show you all that. And as far as time lapse goes, I know not everybody likes the time lapses, but right now, as humid as it is, I really need my fans running because it's hot. We have been kicking around the idea of air conditioning the shop. It's not going to be cheap because it's a pretty big shop. You can see we got some pretty big high roof in here, so a lot of volume of air to cool down, but we want to do that. I feel like it'd be better for everybody here working, but then we'll keep the doors closed and then just enjoy at least less humid air. So right now I've got to run my fans so I'm not drenched in sweat, but when I run the fans, can't really video all that well because it's just a bunch of noise in the background and you guys can't hear anything that's going on. So it's kind of a necessary evil. But I'm gonna get started. Crank the fans on, crank the tunes on, crank the time lapse on, get this rear end back in, and then we'll show you in detail of what we accomplished by making the modifications that we did. All right, well, we're back at it the next day. A little side project we had on that other car you saw drive by. Kind of snowballed out of control last night, and by the time we got done with it, it was way past my bedtime. So I ended up going home, trying to get some sleep. The guys are showing up to film today with that other car, but obviously we still have this thing in the lift, and there's a transmission sitting over there. So we're gonna put this thing back together the rest of the way, get it movable, and then the other work is happening right here as well. But now I can show you guys, you can see how much more aggressive of a, I gotta pull those out of the way still, how much more aggressive of an upper bar angle we were able to achieve. And the lower angle is aimed up. So you can see the bars are angled towards each other a lot more aggressively now. And what happens now as the rear end separates, which the leverage is going to be trying, like the angles are going to try to make this separate, and I'll explain that more in just a minute. But what you'll see as they go down, now the bars are still pointed at each other. Even when this bar does start to go level, the bars are still aimed at each other and will intersect inside the body of the car. All right, so with the anti-squat stuff that I was just talking about, basically that imaginary line that runs from the bottom of the tire contact patch up through the camshaft center line at about the center of the front axle, that imaginary line is called 100% anti-squat, which means the suspension really doesn't do anything. It doesn't plant, doesn't squat, doesn't do effectively anything. So that's speaking from the perspective of where the intersect point or the instant center comes together in relation to that imaginary line. So if you stay above the imaginary line with the intersect point, the tires force themselves into the ground. Obviously, the higher you go and the further back you go, the more aggressive it gets. And you go below that line, the suspension actually wants to squat and compress a little bit, which is what you want on a slick tire car, because then, like I said, you're relying on the tire and you want the tire to slip a little bit, and you're just working with weight transfer of the car accelerating. So with a radial tire car, not wanting it to spin at all, you can kind of think about what we try to achieve is not only is the weight shifting backwards, but the the suspension is forcing the tire into the ground. So the theory is that while that is occurring, you can smash the power to the thing and make them accelerate extremely hard while you're working the suspension. And now that we've got an intersect point that stays inside of the car and likely above the, it's definitely staying above the 100% anti-squat line. Instead, before, as the bars became parallel, when the rear end would try to separate, basically it was losing all leverage on forcing the tire into the ground, and it was spinning. Now, am I 100% sure this is gonna work when we go to the track? I wanna say yes. I know between myself and the guys at TRZ Motorsports that I work with on all of the G-body stock suspension stuff, G-body, A-body, S10s, they make all kinds of awesome suspension products for those, but they also are extremely knowledgeable when it comes to setting these cars up. So they've been the ones giving me the different angles to shoot for. And now that we've had some time to correct this, after going to some events, we're pretty confident this is going to make a very significant change in how the car performs on the track. So, that being said, we're going to get the transmission back in this thing. Travis is staying in the back bars for me to weld up the crack back there and then do the gusset. And then we're going to paint all the parachute bars back there in the back. And then we're going to get this thing out of here so that we can work on another little project. All right, well, everything's back together. We got some fluid in it enough, I think, to crank it, and then we will top it off once we get everything up and kind of warmed up the temperature, run it through the gears, make sure it feels like it's got all the gears. Hopefully I put it back together right. But yeah, we'll get in it and see if I can crank it up.
Hey Kevin, we're getting close for it, ready for you, bud.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to do.
We had the pre-scheduled. You guys want to do us the pre-scheduled?
All right, well that wraps up getting the transmission back in the El Camino. You see we've still got the rear bumper off of it because we have to install a new parachute cable, and I'm gonna redo the air line that runs from the parachute launcher back to the parachutes itself. So some of you guys might recognize that guy. But over here on the other side of the shop, we got something else going on with that car. That'll be for a later date. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you guys in the next one.